We are live in certain areas, but something
It
happened.
says here that broadcast is live. Yes.
Uh-oh. We're having some technical difficulties. Hold on.
It says it's live,
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
but is it recording?
you're official, Marie.
Okay, we're official. Okay, we are here because I'm just seeing some kind of a something on Facebook there. Um, okay. We keep moving on. We are moving on. We'll go live wherever we can.
Exactly.
Alrighty, so we are live today. Okay, I'm a typical CPA here with 3 screens and trying to struggle through them. So give me. Where did the mouse go? So
We'll move the cheese.
here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies. So, good morning, good morning. Thank you, friends, for those of you who are joining us today. We are super excited. So I've made some very general notes because both Pedro and I wanted to be completely non-scripted, very raw, and just bring ourselves to you the way we are. But just to have a general intro, this is, as I said, this is our first time ever. We are really hoping that we won't have any more technical difficulties. As I put it in my notes, we may have some, so, it kind of happened. Pedro, I'm just going to start by first initially introducing ourselves. My name is Marie Torossian. I'm a CPA, a past auditor, and a CFO. I started my firm in January 2020. Prior to that, I was, consulting a little bit. I recently launched my book. It's on Kindle. It's called The Complete Guide to Business Growth. Later on, I'm going to also put in the link for my free ebook so you guys can download. Pedro, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Pedro Gonzalez, a CPA for over 25 years. Started in the area, in the area of auditing, a strong background in the areas of financials, and developed a passion for taxation, which erodes, I tell people, erodes wealth. So I took a passion for that. And the approach, and we'll get more into that later, but the approach is more into the entrepreneurs and helping them achieve their goals.
That's awesome. So just to tell our audience and those who have joined us today, Pedro and I were introduced to each other around maybe April or May of 2021, sometime down there, by a mutual friend. And we started talking about, how CPAs should be kind of collaborating together. So you want to tell your version of, how things went, and we'll just take it from there?
Yeah, when we were introduced, it kind of immediately we kind of see that there was some common grounds about our philosophy, about not only about the profession, but in general about the industry and clients. So then we started having conversations, but beyond that is the approach. I mean, the getting to know each other. We spent some time exchanging calls, either be Zoom calls, and through that process, gaining more confidence on our, to get to know each other. Because one thing is, you have the kind of the professional, the individual that goes to the office, wears a tie or makeup or whatever, but then getting to know the individual, at least, through a conversation, you get to extract a little more of who Marie is and who is Pedro.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember some of our conversations were very specific to why can't more CPAs collaborate together?
Yes.
And open to collaboration. And, we all come from different CPA public accounting backgrounds. Oh, thank you for reminding me. I just to share my coffee with you as well. And we were talking about, for example, my background was in audit and, controller, CFO, and then you were from audit, and then you went into tax, and that was a very interesting conversation. It's like, I told you, I'm like, I don't want to do tax returns. It's not something I'm passionate about, and I don't want to put in the time to learn. I'd rather learn and do more about the area that I'm very happy and excited about, and it's about more teaching, mentoring, transforming lives in a different way. versus doing taxes. And then that brought us to the point where there should be more CPAs actually collaborating and bringing, filling in the gap of like, not every CPA does everything. It's impossible.
It is impossible.
It's not, and to always have the general public think that, when you say I'm a CPA or I'm first thing they'll do is assume you're doing taxes all the time, but there's just so many different things CPAs would do. And from our conversations, we were like, well, our end goal is to serve the clients that we want to serve and bring them the best level of service, ethical standards to them, and take care of them as a group, as a team. And that's kind of what I feel like we connected on, and we're like, okay, let's try to do this.
No, I agree, and the topic of the collaboration, and it's an area that I see that there's still weakness within the industry, our industry. I mean, being able to collaborate, and I think that we can bring better service to our clients by collaboration. I think it's better that we become more like specialists in certain areas and be able then to join forces by providing, for example, to you or vice versa, to me, an area that I'm not an expert. So instead of me trying to, butcher the case, to bring somebody else and somebody has done it multiple times, and you can, and I'll take care of this area, you take care of yours.
Exactly.
And we deliver a better product to our clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And then another thing I wanted to share with our audience is the fact that so far we've been working for a year and a half, something like that. And the fact that we're both virtual, in nature, we've been mostly virtual, and we actually have not literally sat down and have coffee together like in person. But we've had so many conversations, and we've built that trust. And the key point I want to make here is that pre-COVID, most people did not really understand virtual, or trust virtual delivery maybe as much, because they really wanted everyone to be within the close proximity to each other, whether it's from a service standpoint, from employee standpoint. And we were totally fine with that from the beginning. We're like, we just, I see your mentality. I know what you can do. I trust your technical skills, and then we just build that relationship, even though if it's virtual.
Correct. And I think that's something that can be said, at least positive from the pandemic, is that it kind of forced people to start maximizing the tools of virtual, virtual meetings and so on. It's a great tool that can be used. It can, at times, if not used properly, it's not going to help. But it's a great tool that, if used properly, it can expedite meetings or exchanging ideas, resources, and so on. So and that was great. I mean, we've been able to exchange ideas, to meet, to discuss topics, and as well as if I would be driving to your office or vice versa. You know what I mean? Getting in traffic and so on, to have a meeting, have a cup of coffee for an hour, drive to our respective offices, and then start our day. And so we've been able to accelerate that. Let's get to know each other. We've been able to accelerate it by maximizing the use of technology.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm thinking back when I used to work for the chamber, and that was some of the things that our key attendees would kind of say sometimes, because we used to have so many events, and would expect all our members to attend all these events, but in reality it was just took so much time for them to get off the office, drive over in the traffic, park, get to the event, and truly during COVID, that's kind of what kind of took that out of the equation. It's more like virtual events just took over, and now after a year, I think now people are like, well, we really need to get back together in person again. We've missed that personal human touch. I mean, I went to quite a few events starting actually March 2021, and I've been to quite a few events, some of them being as large as 2,000 people in the room, and it's been so exciting. And I remember initially going to the event and people were still kind of like, fist pumps and the elbow pumps and all that stuff. And then, and it eventually was like, we've talked to each other like all this time through a Facebook group or whatever it is. And it's like, we already know each other, and then it became more like, back to hugs and normalcy. So I'm excited that things are kind of coming back to, some kind of a normal, but in general, though, I think from a virtuality standpoint, I think that's going to keep continuing.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, and I'm excited. I think, again, when you look at Florida, compared to the rest of the nation, the economy of Florida is still strong and it looks very positive. And I think that's good for businesses. And, and again, you probably can find some negatives, but compared to the rest of the nation, when you talk to other clients and other professionals in other states, Florida is doing very solid financially. The ability to businesses to function has been a great thing to see people again getting back into kind of say at least a certain level of normalcy. It is great. It's going to be good.
Oh yeah, and so many people have moved from other states because Florida is more open and more conducive to businesses, and it's definitely changing the economy that we have here, and business is flourishing. It's almost back to pre-COVID times. When you're driving down the street now, kind of traffic in Miami specifically has gotten picked up quite a lot. But a little bit outside of Florida. I don't know, in your area, you're in Fort Lauderdale?
Yeah, more towards the plantation.
Plantation.
Yeah, I guess Fort Lauderdale metro. Yeah. So so it is the same. I mean, you can see the not only the traffic but construction. You see a lot of movement now happening.
Yes.
Which is an indication of of the economy. That there's new construction, new roads, expansions. You hear news about the permits. There's always a good and a bad, because more and more people move in, more traffic. But I think if it's done again, like everything, moderation, it can be controlled. It can be good to that infusion of individuals, businesses that are moving over here. It will be positive in all aspects.
Yep, absolutely. I know dropping off my kid at school, I think it's gotten worse. I think now we have 2 police officers guiding traffic. But it kind of tells you that, a lot of buildings, constructions that had started within that area closer to Coconut Grove here, it's finished, buildings are ready to move in. So the expectation is that there's going to be a lot more businesses opening up. And as people, some people lost their jobs, they started their own businesses. There were statistics the other day I was reading, there's about, close to 15% increase in, from prior years on how many new businesses are being applied, every year. Year over year. So it's really crazy. There's a lot more businesses happening, and because a lot of business can happen virtually too, it's been very interesting. And then in Florida specifically, with no state taxes on businesses, except it's totally attractive.
It is attractive, of course, and the individuals. I mean, that come here, and if you can work here, and if your business is in New York or any other of the higher taxed states, you say, well, why not? I can set up, either in my office or my home. I can connect to if I have to connect to a server in New York, I can do that very efficiently.
Right.
And live here and live in Florida. Which is then that's a topic for another time, but the taxation of that, because there's some repercussions. Some of these states are not happy. Let's put it that way.
Yes, definitely. So, anything new you've been working on this week, Pedro?
Well, the extensions are almost over, so we've been dealing. I know we're dealing with some of those last couple tax returns that are due next week.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I like to bring up to the attention of individuals right now, the employee retention tax credit is an area that businesses should take a look at because you can go back to 2020 and
Oh,
retroactively recover some additional monies that can be beneficial. We've been able to help some clients get anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000, and and that can be beneficial for a business, and they still have time to do it. You know what I mean? So it's not like it has to be done by the 15th of October. So even over the next couple of months, they can go and recover some of those monies.
oh, that's excellent. That is very, 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 very good thing.
How
So
about
on,
yourself?
oh yeah, on my end, yeah, actually, yesterday morning I was invited to speak to new entrepreneurs, executives that are starting or thinking of starting their new businesses here. They're all based out of Florida, and it was a great opportunity to talk to other entrepreneurs and kind of share my journey of transitioning from being an executive working for someone else and then now becoming an entrepreneur. It's been about 2.5 years of a transition, a lot of learning. Something you mentioned earlier, challenges that we always hear
Yeah,
this thing that, oh, as an entrepreneur you can have a 4-day work week. I don't think I've worked a
yeah,
4-day work week since I became an entrepreneur. I actually
correct.
work more because to grow a business out of nothing, it takes so much energy, and there's a lot of learning involved, emotionally as well, because it can take a toll on you physically. So you have to have the right people surrounding you. Something that my mentor says is like, the 5 people in your network are the most important people for you, because if you have people that are going to drain more of you, then you're not going to have that support to build what you're trying to build. But if you have the 5 of the most supportive people, even when you're having doubts about yourself or have some kind of a self-sabotage, they're going to help you, push you, say, no, you can do this. You're on the right path. You just got to go through it. So it was a great conversation. I kind of pinpointed some of those difficulties that we would usually have as an entrepreneur. I mean, when you started out, I'm sure you had some of those, hardships as well. And eventually you kind of, build through that. And then some other things that we talked about was, how to, where do you start when you want to set up your business, so, you got to go, set up your business, whether LLC, LLP, an S corp, C corp. What are the differences? We talked about a little bit, very high level about that, and then we covered some of the taxation of that. We talked about why and when you would need a business plan and projections. How to, what is a good profitability ratio, for when you start a business, and how to gauge yourself. So it was a very interesting conversation. Lots of questions. It was very active crowd, and it was so exciting. Got me so hyped up. I can't wait to do another one.
Yeah, no, it is great. I mean, to work with entrepreneurs. And that's why our focus in that area of helping business owners improve, achieve their goals, lower their taxes, and so on. It is rewarding to see the work that we're doing. In your end, when you're helping a business, either with their business planning and coaching them, and see the business is prospering, it is rewarding. When we can lower their taxes, and now they have more liquidity instead of being sent them to the government. That now have some additional liquidity that I don't have to borrow. I can use this liquidity now and reinvest it in respective businesses. It is rewarding. I enjoy meeting with even startups. I mean, people with dreams. And you can I don't know. There's something about it that when you see these individuals, I enjoy it. I mean, to have a cup of coffee with an upcoming dreamer. I mean, like, I have this vision. It's like and sometimes if I can add a little bit of an input, because sometimes that's what they need the most.
Yes.
Is not naysayers. Is that they need is maybe people that can help them
Navigate.
navigate. Maybe address some areas that probably they're not seeing because they're so in the middle that you from the outside you can say maybe you want to consider, maybe a little modification. I'm not gonna tell you not to do it. I'm just saying consider this, consider this, consider this.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so it is. If anything, that to me is one of the missions is to help entrepreneurs in general. Because sometimes they do not see. I mean, all of the aspects. Just like you and I cannot know all of the possibilities
Right.
and tax options out there. The same happens with the entrepreneur. I mean, they're very good at the fabricating widgets, but they're missing some other areas that is not allowing them to go to the next level.
Yeah.
And that's what you see at times. Okay, Marie, why is it? Why is it that I keep working all these hours? And I look at my bank account and it's almost depleted. Why is it? Why is it that I see in my monthly bank statements, hundreds of thousands flowing into my bank statement? I don't see in my bank account. I don't see in my personal account. So
Right.
helping those businesses, identify that here's the reason why. I mean, Joe, listen, is it here, and you can point those things to him or to her, and you being able to help in that way. And then when you see the business kind of turning over, it is rewarding.
Yes, absolutely. And I think one of the things I keep seeing from clients that we meet is that they don't have a good habit of reviewing financial data. And it's maybe something that they are scared of, they're unsure of, but instead of, let's say, having someone like us, CPA advisors that are there to help them every step of the way, teach them how to read their financials, read them like a CEO, be the CEO that you're supposed to be. Instead of thinking small, think big. We can help them not navigate through the financial data. And like you said, help them see things that they're not seeing. If there's data that is you were analyzing year over year or month over month, what are the changes happening? What are the key indicators that we need to focus on? And they're not focusing on because they're trying to get a client, they're trying to get production going. So it's good to have that independent reviewer like us to help them navigate through those challenges.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, and that's the value that our profession can bring to the entrepreneurs is, the entrepreneur has to be able to associate with professionals to allow them to grow. It's impossible for them to try, and this is something I know you and I have talked about, trying to save a penny to spend a dollar. You know what I mean? They're looking at it, unfortunately, they're looking at it the wrong way. And when you look around and you see the successful entrepreneurs, you'll find that most of them, the reason of their success is because they surrounded themselves with the right professionals that help them mitigate risk, help them understand their financials, and prevent a collapse. They associated themselves with good attorneys that shielded their companies or patented their ideas properly, so that they can then be able then to create an asset that I can either sell or I can now go public. I can do something with this. But when you look around, you see that tends to be the model. The accounting, and you and I have talked about this many times, is the accounting should not be looked at as an expense.
Exactly.
It's really an investment. I mean, if you have good accountants and good CPAs, many times we encounter the situations of bringing a quote unquote a bookkeepers and looking at them. How much do you charge, Marie? I charge. Oh well, the bookkeeper charges $25 a month. Okay.
Right.
Right.
I mean? It's like looking at this as a commodity instead of a proper professional that's providing all the right tools and
Exactly, because instead of looking at it just on the dollars, it's exactly what Marie is going to offer, or another professional in that line. You know what I mean? Okay, so if you're going to do a projection for me, can you find it cheaper? Oh, yeah, sure. You go online right now and say, okay, projections, low cost or free projections. You might find something, but you got to wonder what exactly you're going to get. What exactly is Marie going to offer me? to help me not only prepare to understand it, to what does this mean? Because sometimes we get online and get these which is happens even with QuickBooks. How many times we sit down and do QuickBooks? Don't worry, Marie, I'll do my own accounting. I have QuickBooks. It's like to me, I told you one day, it's like giving the hammer to a child, and then help me build a house. And your little Joey, exactly, they start hammering all over. Okay, mommy, you know what I mean? Sometimes it happens. I mean, respectfully, you know what I mean? I say it, but many times at the end, they bring you this. Okay, Marie, here now, do me a business plan. And you look at those. We gotta redo the accounting. These numbers do not make sense.
Absolutely. 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 I've seen clients that, tell me, I've already done the accounting, you can just review it. And I'm like, first of all, my review is not a typical review, because you and I, Pedro, with our audit background, we're never going to look at it as just a controller would look. We are always thinking a little bit from an audit sense as well. We're looking at other things that most people don't see. So I know my review is not going to be a typical just review. And then, of course, once I go in, it's just so messy. And then what happens is that because they're thinking so from an expense standpoint, they're not spending the money up front to make sure everything is correct. Then they come to us and we got to clean up everything before we even start any work. And it costs them even more, because fixing the problem is a lot more difficult and time consuming and more expensive than for them to pay an X amount, whatever it is, and work with a proper, CPA or an accountant or bookkeeper that can do the job well the first time. So I think it's very important. And both of us, we've talked about this. There's a very awkward mindset with most, people, business owners, about the way they view the CPA world is more of like you said, an expense. It's something that's a commodity, while they could look at a doctor and a lawyer and think of them as a more a professional. We do have the same amount of faith we carry when we become a CPA. We are serving the public. Actually, we are bound by super high ethical, regulations. So I don't, it's very difficult to see that most people see us that way as a commodity.
Yeah, no, it is unfortunate. And I told you, I think that without naming associations, but there's some flaws in that, and especially helping the smaller practitioners. You know what I mean? There's nothing to be said about the larger nationals, international CPA firms. Their branding is gold. You know what I mean? There's no issue there. It's usually going to be the mid and to the smaller CPAs, which are also very well qualified to provide high standard, because we're bound by the same standards.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So just the fact that you might be a solo practitioner CPA, or the one with a multinational, international CPA firm, they're both bound by the same standards.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So you cannot say, well, no, they're gonna give me. Well, they probably have more specialties, and if you need somebody specialized in certain quantum computer development, I don't have that experience. So you probably need a CPA, specialized. That I understand. But to say that what you're gonna generate, the financials you're gonna generate versus one from KPMG, I mean, you're bound by the same standards.
Absolutely.
But going back to the same topic of the bookkeeping, yes, I mean, I think that the entrepreneurs need to start looking at investing.
Yes.
Investing in just like you said about the other profession, you will not dare to risk your health on a doctor that is, imagine if you're having, God forbid, a heart condition.
Yes.
For any entrepreneur, and they say, okay, you don't go shopping around for the lowest, who's going to charge me the least? No, they're going to look for who is the highest qualified.
Absolutely.
That can take care of this situation. That's what you're going to go around, because I doubt that, again, God forbid, one of us has some kind of condition that we're going to start. Well, okay, so how much will you charge? 1,000. Okay, no, I'm going to see if I can get it for less. I don't want my insurance company to pay, No, you're going to look for the highest qualify that I can find because I want this to go well. The same should be with the CPAs. I mean, and if you're gonna bring you have to be looking is if you want to succeed as an entrepreneur, is look for this professional and invest so that individual can help you model those projections, your financials, your tax returns, so in order to meet your goals. I'm sure you have done it. You have I meet constantly with bankers, with private equity firms, and investors, and the reason I do this is to understand their language. What exactly you look for? Tell me your horror stories. And you get many times that they tell me, listen, Pedro, the reason, and they give me cases. I mean, recent cases of an entrepreneur that brings business plans, financials, and tax returns, and they do not correlate. I don't know where these numbers came from.
Agreed.
The tax return reports something, the financial says something else. There's no correlation. And the projections, I don't know where they got it because it doesn't seem to correlate with the business, with the financial. So, that's the part that a lot of entrepreneurs miss, is that when you're going to go to a banker, a third party, including, not limited to, but, including like construction companies, they got to get bonding. They got to present financial for them to get the bonding, for them to be able to bid in construction. They're stripping those numbers apart because many of them, their background is auditing. They're looking to see if what doesn't make sense in here. They're looking at variances. They're looking at it different than somebody else. A lot of bankers are trained is to do that, to look at numbers, analysis. And sometimes it's not the banker that you need. It's that they send those to, guess what? People like you and I, they're going to strip those numbers apart and see if it makes sense. Like financial analysts, you know what I mean? So they're going to sit there, they're going to, and then they'll send it back to, they say, Joey, the banker, and tell Joey, listen, these numbers don't make sense. Or, it doesn't qualify. And so the loan gets rejected. And now they come back to Marie. Well, in this case, it will not be Marie, but they'll go back to their CPA or their accountant or their QuickBooks. It just doesn't make sense. They are upset because now they didn't get the loan.
Exactly.
And so that's why, I constantly encourage, and I'm sure you do the same, encouraging is to invest in good quality financial statements. The accounting is a time saver, is also a financial saver, because when it comes tax season, properly accounting for things, it expedites the process, makes easy analysis, either be projections, business plan, tax planning. It makes it like extremely easy. Absolutely.
Yes. We have to have reliable numbers to work with. Otherwise it just doesn't make sense. So everybody gets affected. A similar thing happened with me where I'm helping a client with business valuations, and he provides, he's providing the financials from the people that he's trying to purchase, the business is trying to purchase.
Yeah.
And I look at the tax return, I look at the financials, I'm like, there's two different numbers. And it's not like, we're not talking $5,000. We're talking, 35, 45. One is showing a deficit, one is showing a surplus. I'm like, how did they? So I can't even do evaluation. I cannot use any of the numbers. So I literally push back and just set my questions. Like I need this, I need this, I need this. If you have a CPA, I need to talk to them as well, because I don't know what they did with those numbers. How did they rely on these numbers? Maybe they made some adjustments, but the client doesn't have it. So, I mean, it's just, there are some haphazard work done out there. And for people like us that we really take our job very seriously, we take our licensing very seriously, we're trying to put out a very, very good work. And it's important for, like you mentioned, and for entrepreneurs to see it as an investment, because we're going to be able to protect them and make sure as they're taking their next step in their growth process, they have all the right pieces in place to make sure they succeed.
Exactly. So that's the area that, at least to get started in business, as an entrepreneur. I mean, later there's other topics we have discussed also, cash flow, tax planning. But I would say even the before you even think of tax, again, I remember one time somebody starting brand new, actually hasn't even opened the door, and worry about paying taxes. And I said, listen, buddy, make money first. You know what I mean? And then we'll worry about the taxes.
We said that together. Make money first, then you worry about that.
Yeah, because he hasn't even issued one invoice, and they're already worried about the tax impact. Let's run some scenarios. Well, let's talk about first your accounting system. Let's see that you send your first invoice, and then we'll discuss a tax plan.
Yes.
But no, listen, the foundation is accounting. You know what I mean? It cannot be denied. It doesn't matter what type of business you have. A lot of other aspects of the business life is contingent to have reliable numbers.
Absolutely.
If you have no reliable numbers, it affects you individually as an entrepreneur, because you really don't know what is happening in your business. You don't even know if fraud is being committed against your business.
Exactly.
You don't know. And it happens. As long as you see money going to your bank account, you say, well, but you don't know that, how much is being milked out of your business. So the core, when you're starting a business, you have to invest in accounting. If you want to succeed, you want to actually maximize your business. And then from there, then you can do proper valuation, like you were saying, proper business planning, projections, tax planning, all of it, but you gotta see that, because we are all relying on reliable financial statements. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I cannot do my work if the numbers are unreliable. You cannot do your work.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Yes. Well, this was really fun.
Yeah.
Our first show ever, and I think it was really fun. I think I'm hoping, and I think we delivered great value for our audience that's been, tuning in, and there'll be more of it coming out with, through stories, as you can see, like totally unscripted. We're just being ourselves. This is who we are as humans, Marie and Pedro, not just CPAs. And we have, our normal lives. We have interesting stories that we want to share, and that we want to be able to help our audience in their business as well. So,
no, I'm sure that they will find value, Marie. I mean, even through the stories, I think that they should be able to extract the moral of the story. You know what I mean? The value. We could bore our audience with tax codes and accounting pronouncements and all of that.
Which tax code did you want to reference earlier in the backstage? Hey, let me open the book.
I know. No. We don't want to do that, and that's the reason why I wanted to join on this project, because to me, it brings the reality. Humans.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That behind the ties and all of this, there's a human being behind. In behind our stories, there is value. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about the financials, all of that in a story, but there's value, and it's something that all entrepreneurs should take to heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome.
Awesome.
So I'm excited. I think our first show went well. And so I want to thank everyone who joined us and listened to our first show. And we're going to be here same time next week, every Thursday at 10 o'clock Eastern. We're going to go live on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. So we hope you join us there next week.
Okay. Take care.
All right. Bye, guys. Bye, Pedro.
Okay.
See you next week.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Technical difficulties again. Trying to find my mouse.